Greetings, gamers. Welcome to the sixth installment of my Dissecting Rogue Decks series. In today's episode, going over yet again another Mega Monarch. In fact, I have several left to do, 4 to be exact. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Each and every individual Monarch deck that I have created, the Mega Monarch decks, are interesting to my humble opinion. It is time to get to the showcase. In today's episode, it is all about Thestalos, the Mega Monarch, who is also the only of the Mega Monarchs that has a superior, a combined Monarch, I guess you would call him. Thestalos, the Shadow Flare Monarch, is basically supposed to be Thestalos and Caius mixed together, and their effects are very, very similar in some degree. So there is that. I can't wait to go over him and exactly how he slots into this. But I have 3 Idea, the Heavenly Squire, 3 Ados, the Underworld Squire, 2 Berlineth, the Firestorm Vassal. So he's useful in the sense that if he's tributed over, of course, I could banish until the end phase one of my opponent's cards in his hand. Reason why I'm even bothering to bring this up is because if your opponent only has one card and you're going to summon the original Thestalos, the Mega Monarch, or the original Thestalos, the Firestorm Monarch, or if you're going to summon Shadow Flare, you absolutely do not want to activate Berlineth's effect, because if you do, you're going to nuke the effect of your other monster, and that's absolutely not what you want to do, because Berlineth is just for a moment. It's actually pretty decent because it can block your opponent from hand trapping you in some ways, because you get to choose what monster it is that goes to, or what card it is that goes to the grave for this. So you could even choose stuff like Evenly Matched and just kind of beat your opponent that way. So this deck is all about burn. The Ryza deck was all about returning. Zaborg deck was all about destroying my opponent's kaiju so that I can nuke both of our extra decks. This is all about burn. So Thestalos, the Firestorm Monarch, if this card is tribute summoned, discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand. Then, if it was a monster card, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original level times 100. It also does a lot of hand ripping. So hand ripping in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the things that most people consider highly degenerate. It's basically, a lot of people think that it's worse than stun. I would say that stun is still worse or harder to deal with at times. It just depends. If you hand rip 3 cards from your opponent in the very first turn, or even 2, or even just 1, it could seriously deal a devastating blow to your opponent. But if your opponent's playing a 1-card combo deck, it's likely not going to do anything to him. If he has no cards in his hand, you ripped his entire hand, he's still going to draw a card that he can play and get 50 million monsters out. The Special Summon Simulator is going on with or without your hand ripping. So I still think stun is more powerful, but hand ripping is very strong. Now, Kiraz the Light Monarch, of course, I have him because any deck that has Ether is always going to have Kiraz. This is just absolutely necessary. I have 3 Thestalos, the Mega Monarch. So if he's tributed over, if you tribute summon him over a fire monster, which is why I have 2 Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, as well as 2 Berlineth. And I could even summon him over Thestalos, the Firestorm Monarch, or another Mega Monarch, or even Shadow Flare if I really wanted. If he summoned over them, he gets to do an extra 1,000 damage to your opponent for nothing. Now, you get to look at your opponent's hand and discard a card. It's not just random. So you're going to obviously pick a monster card when you activate this guy's effect. His trigger effect, I should say. It's not really an activated effect. Your opponent does have to have cards in his hand to activate or to trigger any of these effects, though. So you do have to be careful of this. This is why I'm saying be careful of Berlineth. I have 2 Dogoran, the Mad Flame Kaiju, as well as 2 Gameciel. I have 1 Ether. I have 1 Erebus, and then 1 Shadow Flare. So Shadow Flare is basically another Kaiju in this deck, but he works in the sense that I have to have a tribute summon monster on my field, alongside my opponent having a monster on his field, in order to tribute over both of them. So it's not anywhere near, obviously, as good as a Kaiju, but it's still very good. 1 Pot of Avarice, 3 Tenacity of the Monarchs, 3 Pantheism, 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. I have 3 Monarch Domain. So Thestalos is probably the only of the Mega Monarchs that is super cool with the idea of going first, and that's why I have Domain. Now you'd say, Gamerman, if this is the case, why is it that your deck is still a 48 card deck? Because I'm still going to want to go second 99% of the time. And the reason why is because Mega Monarchs just don't go first well. They just don't. I do have cards to allow me to go first and to deal with going first. I have a lot of trap cards, in fact. So I'm still going to go first, but I would kind of prefer to go second, if that makes sense. I don't know exactly how to put it, you know. I have 1 March of the Monarchs, 1 Return of the Monarchs, 3 the Monarch Storm 4th. I have 1 Magic Cylinder, because this is fun. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. It's a fun card. It's not necessarily needed, but it is still fun. I have 1 the Monarchs Awaken for that immunity. Making one of your tribute summon monsters unaffected is pretty hilarious. 1 Jar of Avarice. I have 1 Blazing Mirror Force. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy as many attack position monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, take damage equal to half the combined original attack of those destroyed monsters, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. I was originally going to do like Ring of Destruction in this deck and then Chain Energy, but because Monarchs are in the game for the long haul, Chain Energy doesn't make any sense at all, like literally at all. And then Ring of Destruction doesn't allow you to KO your opponent. This does. So if your opponent's already weak, this can technically finish the job. I have Zoma the Spirit. Special summon this card in defense position as an effect monster, Zombie Dark, level 4, attack 1800, defense 500. This card is also still a trap. If this card summoned this way is destroyed by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the monster that destroyed it. So this is just more burn, but also a monster for tribute, so it does double duty. I have the Monarchs Erupt, because Monarchs Erupt goes very well with Domain of True Monarchs. I have Escalation of the Monarchs, and then I have the Prime Monarch. And that is the total of my deck. It is time to get on to the demonstration. In the case of Thestalos here, I'm going to pick going random. So I don't really care if I go second. I don't really care if I go first, because if I go first, I can set up, and if I go second, I can just go in for damage and burn. Right now, this is looking like a pretty okay hand. It could use some help. It could definitely use a Pot of Extravagance, but I don't have an extra deck to throw away. That's another thing too, if you really wanted, you could use stuff like Pot of Extravagance in these decks, because these decks don't really need Domain, they're just for fun decks. So with that in mind, you could easily go without Domain, or you could still use Domain for its regular effects, like the level modulation, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to level modulate my Thestalos, and then summon him over 1 singular monster. And then I get to throw away a card in my opponent's hand. See, unfortunately, none of these are all that good. Sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Jinzo in your graveyard. There is no Jinzo in his graveyard, so I guess I'll just send this, so you can't get that effect later. Only 600 damage, not really that good. But I do have the effect of Domain working, so I'm getting an extra 800 attack when I attack with Thestalos. Of course, my opponent also is no longer capable of using his extra deck now. So, in the grand scheme of things, I kind of just win, I guess you could say. I'm going to use Tenacity here. Reveal another Thestalos. And then... so I think I'm going to go ahead and use Escalation here. Escalation is a card that I haven't really been able to show off. So that's destroyed, which is perfectly fine. Don't really need to use escalation now. Perfect. This is the reason why I wasn't so sure or keen that I wanted to use escalation. And of course I'm going to summon Ados. You never want to summon the other vassals or squires off of Idea, because you will immediately stop yourself from being able to summon regardless, which is unfortunate. Level modulation again. And going to tribute over one monster. Actually, I'm going to tribute over Idea. So what's unfortunate is the reason why I wasn't originally going to tribute over Idea is because I want to use Idea for her effect of recursion from obviously the banishment, but it's perfectly fine. And your Fusilier Dragon goes to the grave. 1400 damage to you, buddy. All right. So now, what's cool is that on my opponent's turn, I'm going to be able to use Kiraz with escalation to disrupt my opponent. Special summon 1 level 6 Dark Machine. Aha! He got Jinzo out in the field. This is the reason why I was playing against a Jinzo deck. Just in case I was to have to deal with using my traps, I wanted something that could necessarily block it, just to show it off. Just because I don't want all of my duels to be immediately one-sided. Unfortunately for my opponent, this is still going to be extremely one-sided because I can just put him in attack mode. I didn't even really need to do that because I could have just destroyed the Jinzo. The thing is if you're playing against an opponent that has an archetype, likely that archetype is going to support itself. So there could be cards very well that support that Jinzo, keep it alive, so on and so forth. I don't really know in this case because I've never really looked or cared. I'm going to go ahead and just attack into my Dogoran and then finish the game with my other Thestalos, the Mega Monarch. And that, my friends, is my demonstration over. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please upvote and follow, or like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and while you're at it, have a great and glorious day gaming.